Our next panel, entitled Mobilizing the Collective Strength of Allies and Partners, will be moderated by Abigail Kukura, Director for Future Technology Platforms at the Special Competitive Studies Project. Please welcome our panelists. The Right Honorable Lord Peter Mandelson, British Ambassador to the United States. His Excellency Ambassador Urban Ahlin, Swedish Ambassador to the United States. And James Choi, Executive Vice President at Samsung Biologics.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please join me in welcoming our panelists. We have an esteemed group up on this stage right now that is really helping to shape what the future of international collaboration on AI and biotechnology looks like and how that will play out as we move forward. So I'd like to start with a question for each of my panelists. How did you personally realize that biotechnology was important for geopolitics, for national competitiveness, and it was a strategic technology? So Lord Mandelson, if I could please start with you.
Well, thank you very much indeed for asking me to join you today. It's a great pleasure for me. And the simple answer is that I made this discovery when I first became a member of the British Cabinet under Tony Blair as long ago as 1998. I am indeed older than I look. And I became the Trade and Industry Secretary, and I went off to the west coast of the United States, and it was a complete revelation to me that we were developing quite fundamental general-purpose technologies that were converging and literally with the potential to transform everything that we do, everything that we create, how we organize our societies, how we organize healthcare, and I thought this was really the most exciting revelation that had happened to me in my political life. I am indeed a recovering politician, by the way, not simply a diplomat. And I wrote a policy paper, a big white paper for the government, and I called it, it was an economic strategy for the country, and I called it Building a Knowledge-Driven Economy. And the knowledge that we're now talking about has sort of, in a sense, transmogrified from a great opportunity, an economic and set of economic and social opportunities for our countries, into a massive geopolitical contest and race. And so I not only now see the huge potential and opportunities offered by these general purpose technologies, but I see these technologies as a source of geopolitical power in the world. Indeed, I see geopolitics dominated by what has become a tremendous and profound technology race. And quite simply, I want our side to win, okay? Because whilst China is not a country I regard as an enemy, it is nonetheless a country which I do not want to win this technology race, because if they do, they will gain a stranglehold on everything else in the world, and that's not a world in which I would like to live. So I want to win this race, and when I say I want us to win the race, I don't just mean the United States of America. So I hear the senator saying, the US has got to do this, the US has got to do that. Well, yes, but the US has got to do this with its allies, with like-minded countries, with similar economies, with similar values and similar norms. We are, for example, you have on the panel before you representatives of science-rich countries. And what we can do together is greater than the sum total of our individual parts. And why is this important, lastly? Because this is about saving lives. It's about enhancing lives. It's about improving and transforming lives. what our exploitation, harnessing, and application of these technologies will do is to provide cures for cancer. They will provide faster drug discovery. They will produce step changes in genomics which are literally going to transform people's lives and their life expectancies. This is what is at stake, more than anything else, more than all the geopolitics put together, which, as I've said, I believe we've got to win. But this is about people's lives, and that's why we've got to do so much better and have the potential to do so much better than we're doing now.
Fantastic points. Ambassador Ahlin, tell me a little bit about how you woke up to these issues that we're talking about today.
Thank you very much, Abigail, to put me in this situation, being after Lord Mandelson, answering that question. He has a political background. I also have a political background, and I can assure you, when I was a politician back home in Sweden, the worst position you could ever be in was after a British politician saying something. Because you always felt like, oh, how is it possible? How am I going to make myself clear, after listening to an eloquent British politician?
You're doing very well.
You stole my line. You stole my line, as always. No, I'm going to tell you when I figured that this is going to be a big thing. I was a member of the Swedish Parliament. I was a speaker of the Swedish Parliament once upon a time. And I was also a member of the Defense Review Commission. And we did a little bit like your commission, traveling around the world, checking out what is new, what is going on. Where are the risks? Where are the opportunities? And we went to California, we went to Singapore. And lots of companies were asking us Swedes, that we need to cooperate about data, your health data, your digitalized society in Sweden. We can do lots of things together. And I was like, why are they so interested in our data in Sweden? And I realized, that we have a kind of a war chest there with all the digital data that we have collected over the years when it comes to health, patient journals and so on, that is all digitalized and centralized in Sweden. And we started to realize what is actually going on here with AI, what is going on with biotech and so on. And that was the kind of the awakening moment for me when I saw this enormous interest from the big companies around the world using the Swedish data. And then I realized, okay, what can we all do with this data? And I saw that there are risks, but there are also enormous opportunities. And as you know, Sweden is a very small country, but we have a very good research climate. We are pretty innovative. We are on the top of all these rankings, we have our Nobel Prize and so on. But I think the most important thing when it comes to this is what Lord Mandelson said earlier. We need to know who are our adversaries, who are our allies, and how do we deepen our cooperation with our allies. And I am a strong believer that democracies, countries with transparency, human rights, and openness are the ones that always will win against authoritarians, as long as we cooperate and work together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Ahlin. And James, you've been working in the private sector for a number of decades, so I'd like to hear how your journey with these technologies and what has really made you realize their potential.
Thank you. Following the two distinguished ambassadors here, I represent the private sector, and my personal realization of the importance of biotechnology, I think we can all relate to in this room, obviously during the COVID pandemic. I remember there were shortages of masks, shortages of test kits. There are a lot of things that happened that made us all realize how vulnerable we are and how dependent we are on each other. And that also was an opportunity where the business that I represent, Samsung Biologics, which is a contract development and manufacturing organization that provides manufacturing services for U.S. biotechs as well as global biotechs, really came into play. In fact, at the height of the pandemic, thanks to Operation Warp Speed, one of our US-based clients, Big Pharma, we worked with them to bring their COVID treatment to patients in half the time that it would have normally have taken. And that really shows the extraordinary capabilities when two allied nations, business, private, and companies work together to bring those types of innovation and technologies that are, direly needed to patients not only in the U.S. but all over the world.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask one more question of the group, and we're going to go in the reverse order. So we're being equitable in our orders here. And I'm going to ask you, James, to speak on behalf of the private sector, and I'm going to ask Ambassador Ahlin and Lord Mandelson to speak about their governments. But our title of our panel is Mobilizing the Collective Strengths of Allies and Partners. What are the strengths that each of the groups you're representing are bringing to the table? And what do you hope to see the United States bring to the table in biotech diplomacy? So James, starting with you.
Sure. So I represent Samsung Biologics, which is the biotech arm of the Samsung portfolio of businesses. And right now we're based in South Korea. And because of our presence there, we've been able to accumulate an ecosystem of biotechnology, specifically in terms of large scale and mid-scale, variety of scale manufacturing capabilities that support these important therapies and treatments. And we've been able to provide those services in record time where the scale and the capacity is needed the most. And again, I think that really illustrates the strength of our geography and the ecosystem that we're able to provide there as part of the global supply chain.
Ambassador Ahlin?
Sweden is a highly innovative country, but we wouldn't have been that highly innovative if we were not open for the world, inviting the researchers into Sweden, and also cooperate with researchers around the world. So what I really want from the United States is that we keep that level of cooperation. I fully understand and I agree that we should not be naive. There has to be research security. We need to treat lots of the research that we're working with as a national security issue. We shouldn't give away this to the adversaries, of course. But I have to say that I'm a little bit nervous that the pendulum has swung a little bit too hard on the side, being nervous about foreigners, working with foreigners in research. I think it's important that we understand that we need to be open, we need to work with others, of course with guardrails, security and so on, but don't be afraid of having an openness and transparency and try to work with other researchers around the world. Because as I said, I'm a little bit nervous the pendulum is going a little bit too, maybe we were too naive before, and now we might be a little bit too strict. I think that's a dangerous way. If the democratic world around actually works together, find the guardrails and that kind of research security, which I'm absolutely certain we can find, we have absolutely the best opportunities, to lead the development, to find the ethical guidelines, and actually put something good for the people from this research.
Fantastic. Lord Mandelson.
I think that sustaining international funding for shared research collaboration is absolutely vital. The United States is one of the richest countries in the world, and I would like the United States to maintain its commitment to international collaboration and to funding essential research, which in my view, in many ways, is better done together than apart. Secondly, I would like to see American leadership in the world. I want to see the United States, and this is a subject we might come on to, providing leadership for like-minded nations, for its allies to assert themselves better in international standards institutions and organizations so that we can tie those international standards to our shared values and norms. We have ceded that ground, in my view, for too long. Others have taken the initiative. Others have been more patient. Others have been more strategic in their approach to organizations, international organizations, that we've been, frankly, lazy and careless about. You know, we've seen many of these international organizations as just sort of slow-moving, consensus-driven organizations, and we can take a sort of equally slow approach to them. Others we regard as just sclerotic, and we don't have the patience to do the hard work and the alliance building within them. That has got to change. We have got to be much more strategic, much more proactive in our approach to these international standard-setting organizations and agencies so as to ensure that our values and our norms prevail within them.
Ambassador Ahlin, would you like to say anything about international standards bodies and how democracies can contribute to those?
No, I think Lord Mandelson is onto something here that we really need to come together and make decisions faster and open up for this kind of research and innovation that is needed. I think it is like when I read the report, people are afraid that we are lagging behind China and so on. And I mean, authoritarian regimes have one advantage. They can put lots of money on the table and say, we need to do this now, and go for it, right? In our open, transparent, democratic societies, you know, it's more like 1,000 flowers and we see which one takes off. But I have to say, in the long run, I'm absolutely certain that our societies are better positioned to actually do something from this research. So I'm not that nervous. If we can come together and we can, you know, work together, do it, as Lord Mandelson says, a little bit quicker in different international forums on, I think we have all opportunities actually to be more advanced than other countries. And of course, that what we're talking about now, biotech, AI and others, enormous risks, but also enormous opportunities. We need to make this right. It has to be ethical guidelines. It has to serve a better good for the public, because it can be really used in a wrong way, of course. And I think it's important here to realize also that the dual use, military and civilian, will be very much an issue when it comes to these areas. And I think, I mean, if you look upon Sweden being outside of NATO for many years, we spent a lot of money in defense research. There has always been a kind of a cooperation between the civilian side and the military side in pushing innovation. So I think we are, in the Western world, if I can put it like that, you know, we are used to deal with these kind of issues. So I'm actually pretty optimistic that we can find the guardrails, the ethical guidelines, but also be quicker and faster than authoritarian regimes. Because 1,000 flowers blooming is not a bad idea. And when we see where we should put our efforts in, we can actually do it in a much stronger way. So I'm pretty optimistic, actually. I am pretty optimistic.
That's great. And standards and regulations are sort of two sides of the same coin when we talk about driving a positive vision for democracies to lead in biotechnology. So James, I was wondering if you could lay out for this room what a positive vision of regulatory diplomacy looks like for biotech.
Sure. As I stated before, Samsung Biologics is a contract development and manufacturing organization. So wherever our clients market the products that we produce for them, we get inspected by those regulatory agencies of all the different nations, FDA being one of the primary ones. And it feels repetitive to us that, you know, they inspect us for the same things. So one of the ways that I think it was in the study, recommendations was something called regulatory diplomacy, concept of convergence of regulatory concepts and regulations that provide consistency and you know, allow us to get these medicines within the regulatory frameworks with greater consistency in a much more efficient way. And I got to say, as a service provider that get audited by a lot of different agencies, there is definitely a feeling that the world looks to the FDA. So again, it's definitely a feeling that the U.S. is leading in terms of safety and those compliance type aspects that really set the standard. And I think there's an opportunity there for the U.S. to lead in that regard and really, strengthen that collaboration.
Please.
Can I just add a comment on this? All of us want to develop these general purpose technologies in the most responsible way we can, for the short, medium, and the long term. But I feel that some of us, including in my own country, we started placing a lot of emphasis on the word safety at the expense of the word opportunity. We became very fixated on all sorts of existential threats, dangers about, frontier technology and where they were going. And I think it's right that we are very alive to the national security risks and threats. I don't want these technologies falling into the hands of bad and evil people. But nor do I want the public to become so fixated by the threats and the need for safety that they overlook the opportunities that we've got to create in the meantime. And when the new British government came into office last year, they actually took the AI Safety Institute and renamed it Security. So yes, we need to be focused on, longer-term national security threats, but not so preoccupied with safety in the meantime that we overlook the opportunities. And I think that's right. And secondly, in respect of regulation, I think it's better if the like-minded align not just their markets, but their regulatory approaches as well. Let me give you an example of a recent collaboration in developing guidance on gene synthesis screening. So we developed our regulatory approach to such screening in our own country, but we deliberately looked at and looked out for ways in which we could align our approach with that of the United States. Because in the long term, if we want not only scientific discovery and technological development to go alongside each other, but we also want business-to-business collaboration, and we want our private sectors working closer together, we need aligned regulatory frameworks as well. That's just one example, but I think there will be many others. And we've got, as governments and regulators, to look at very closely where we can harmonize, where we can align, so that not only our scientific institutions, but our private sectors are working together, hand in glove, so that we do this not just in the context of national markets, but markets working together so that apart from anything else, we can promote not just business-to-business collaboration, but investment in each other's economies and trade between them as well. That's what I would like to see. That's how we're going to demonstrate conclusively that what we're doing in the technological field really is not just contributing to better lives for individuals, but higher standards of living, greater economic growth, so that people have major economic opportunities as well as health ones through the working together of our businesses and investors, our entrepreneurs, our venture capitalists as well.
Fantastic. Ambassador Ahlin, did you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I would like to add on what Lord Mandelson is saying, because I think he's absolutely right that, when there is a focus from politicians that this is something dangerous, we need to regulate it, and if the population feels that this is a dangerous technology and so on, they push the elected officials, that you need to regulate this before something bad happens. I think, from being a former politician, and I think Lord Mandelson agrees with me, politicians are very bad in regulating things that has not happened yet. See, it's bad, when you regulate beforehand. It's actually easier to regulate when you see something is going wrong, and then you regulate. But here is the problem here. People understand that it can be dangerous, something can happen, there is lots of nervousness there, and there is a push against the politicians that they should regulate. But I think everyone here can understand that if we want to be innovative, if we want to have this collaboration and come up with new ideas that are good for mankind, we can't regulate it in beforehand. And I think that is an important message as well.
This is important, by the way, in relation to data.
Yes.
Please, I wanted to ask about data. So where do you see the best opportunities for collaboration on biological data?
Look, we've got to create public trust in the use and application of data. Okay? It's absolutely fundamental. We've got to take the public in a very real sense on a journey of scientific discovery and development. They've got to be, their whole mindset has got to be pro-innovation, because they've got to see this in terms of their future lives and the welfare of their families, their children and their grandchildren. And therefore, building up, as we have done in Britain, tremendous sort of data assets. The biobank that we have in Britain is a tremendous innovation. It has massive life-saving potential. And I think that to the data bridge that we negotiated and agreed in 2023 between the United States and the UK too, not just building up, vast data sets in our own country, but moving those assets into for similar use and mutual benefit between our two countries is really, really important. Biobank is absolutely unique. Now, of course, the public have got to be assured that we have a respect and a regard for privacy, for security in the use of data. But I think once they cross a trust threshold, that they know that governments and regulators and the private sector are using data in an appropriate and respectful way, that trust will be say, right, okay, we'll go with you. But if we don't establish and cross that threshold of trust in the first place, then in my view, we will have recurring difficulties as we go along this journey.
Absolutely, it starts with trust. With our final few moments, I'd like to do a lightning round with one question for you all to answer, and that is, what does success look like in 2030 if the companies and countries on this stage and the United States successfully collaborate and lead the world in AI and biotechnology? What does that world look like to you, James, and then Ambassador Ahlin and Lord Mandelson?
Thank you. In our business, all roads lead back to the patient. It's all about the patients at the end of the day. And, to me, success looks like, we don't look at the world in terms of winners or losers or like that, but really about whether or not the patients get safe and effective drugs, cancer patients, patients that really need this kind of biotechnological innovation. And we are here to serve. So success to me looks like U.S. biotech companies leveraging the strength of not only U.S. manufacturing and innovation, which is really where they've been leading, continuing down that path, but leveraging the collective strengths of the allies. And that's where we come in.
Fantastic.
I think we are living in a very interesting moment where it seems like the electorate the political leaders are feeling that US, Europe is lagging behind, we are losing out, we are terrible off and so on. In reality, I would say we have never been as rich as we are at this moment. We have enormous opportunities with the biotech, and I'm referring to your company, but also to Swedish companies using all the health data we have in Sweden. I'm absolutely sure that we will see some real breakthrough innovations where people can really feel that, wow, that we used our data from our patient journals to find a new cure for this or that. I'm absolutely certain about that. When it comes to manufacturing, I would like to say that AI has enormous potential to increase the productivity in our part of the world enormously. But the bottom is this. For doing this, we need friends and allies. And you need to be nice to your friends and allies. That's important for US, it's important for European Union to understand that.
Lord Mandelson with the final word.
Did I steal your line now?
No, I'm far too diplomatic to... Look, what I want in 2030 is what I want more of in 2035 and 2040. I want healthy outcomes, for our fellow citizens. That's what I want. And we have, just massive, unprecedented potential to transform those health outcomes. I mean, the cures, the medicine discovery, the extraordinary step changes that we're going to be taking in genomics in so many other areas. And obviously I want, in the process of creating those new healthy health outcomes for our society, I want to see new economic drivers of growth, of productivity and competitiveness as well. We've heard a lot recently about how other people or other countries have been eating our lunches and how they've been robbing our manufacturing and eating into the, heartlands of, manufacturing, etc. Fine. And I'm not naive when it comes to trade. I'm a former European Trade Commissioner, so I know all about the deficiencies of the international trading system and why it needs to be reformed and why its rule book needs to be renewed and modernized. And I don't doubt for one moment that the international trading system needs a little bit of an electric shock to change it. But here's the point. We've got to be focused on the future industries, not simply trying to recreate the traditional manufacturing and previous industries of the last century. We've got to generate prosperity, earn our living in the world in very different ways in this coming century than we did in the last. And I would just end on this point. In the 1940s, 50s, 40s, look at the film, look at Oppenheimer. We devoted ourselves through profound scientific collaboration to an extraordinary project, the Manhattan Project, that created a means of destruction through the atomic weapon, which was unprecedented, gave us great power to those who invented it, but also demonstrated to the rest of the world that sort of Western prowess, what freedom-loving democracies can do, what free, brilliant universities can do, what wonderful scientists can create. And I want to reinvent a whole number of different Manhattan projects, not to destroy life through a new atomic weapon, but how we can save lives and improve lives and enhance lives through the use of bio and other technologies, all accelerated by AI. Because that's what AI is. It's just an accelerator. It's a very pedestrian sort of foundational technology. Compared to biotechnology, it's like a walk in the park, AI. But what it does is accelerate. And that's what I would like us to harness. And we can do it, as my colleagues on this panel have said, we can do it much better by working together than apart. So let's pool our talent. Let's develop and create schemes in which talent can move between our countries, in a way that they frankly find difficult at the moment. Let's devote our resources. Let's plow our investment into these, not just simply to win a geopolitical race, important as that is, but in order to transform people's lives. We have that potential, and that's what we should grasp.
Fantastic point to close with. Please join me in thanking our panelists.